XXL is arguably the premier hip-hop magazine, and their annual freshman class list is right around the corner. Each year they showcase around 10 up-and-coming artists. These rappers receive a lot of buzz, and for many of them, getting on the cover and showing off their skills during promos around that time can help catapult them into becoming a household name. However, predicting that a musician on the rise is gonna blow up is easier said than done. Many of these MCs are gonna be relics of the past that you either haven't heard of or haven't thought about in a long time. With my criteria being a mix of critical acclaim, commercial success, general icon status, and whether or not I personally like their music, I'm gonna go through and rank every XXL freshman class. How many of these rappers turned out to be superstars and or made genuinely great music, and how many of them fizzled out into nothing? First, I'll go through chronologically, give the groups a rating, and then at the end of part 2 of this video, we'll talk through my definitive list. Keep in mind, pretty much every year we'll have good stuff, bad stuff, and a few in between, so the ratings won't be too far apart. Beginning in 2007, we have a pretty solid, albeit kind of odd grouping of decently big names. I say it's odd because many of these people had been in the game for like 10 years already, but there's always going to be arguments about what's new and what's not, so just forget that aspect going forward. We've got talented underground guys like Papoose and Saigon that never quite made it to the mainstream, and then more than a few rappers with hit records under their belts. Plies had Shoddy featuring T-Pain, Rich Boy had the infamous Throw Some D's, and then Young Dro with Shoulder Lean and FDB. Joel Ortiz and Crooked Eye were always known as the lesser members of Slaughterhouse. I barely remember who Gorilla Zoe is, and that leaves us with Lupe, Fiasco, and Boozy. Lil Boozy, Boozy Badass, whatever you want to call him, is an important figure of Southern hip-hop that has released tons and tons of music over time, and Lupe has certified classic albums as far as I'm concerned, so these two would be my stars of the bunch. Overall, it's not a terrible way to start, but it's more average than anything. I'll give 2007 a strong 4 to a light 5. They skipped 2008 for some reason, so we move to 2009, where the names will start becoming more and more familiar to my younger viewers. The one person I'm unfamiliar with is Mickey Fax, and continuing with negatives, there's also Corey Guns, whose only real claim to fame was being featured in Lil Wayne's 6 Foot 7 Foot. For minor players, there's Ace Hood, who had Hustle Hard and Bugatti. Asher Roth had one mixtape that I really liked, but realistically he's a one-hit wonder for I Love College. And then Charles Hamilton never made it out of the underground, but he was likable. Regardless of whatever he's doing now, B.O.B. had a massive debut album with songs like Nothing on You and Airplanes. Wale didn't really live up to expectations, but he still had some good projects. Blue is one of the more critically acclaimed rappers on any of these lists, and Currency is like the go-to guy for stoner rap. But the star of the show here is Kid Cudi. Extremely passionate fanbase, a couple of beloved albums, and he's managed to stay relevant for well over a decade. I'd say 2009 was a slight increase in quality, so we'll go with a light 5. 2010 saw a mix of artists with extreme longevity and, like usual, a couple of nobodies too. Both Pill and Donis, no clue whatsoever. Fashion's interesting because he's talented and has done relatively well for himself, but I feel like he's always kind of been a background guy. And real quick, I just need to mention this. For most of the time that XXL freshman lists have been a thing, there are Cyphers and also short individual freestyles in the build-up to the magazine dropping. 2010 saw the funniest freestyle I've ever heard with OJ da Juice Man. Wiz Khalifa was influential for a while and had some massive hits. Big Sean isn't exactly my favorite, but he's still a big name, no pun intended. J-Rock is cool, but not quite a star, and Nipsey was kind of a late bloomer, but he started making serious waves right before his untimely death. We're left with one of the very best rappers you'll see in this video with Freddie Gibbs, and undoubtedly one of the legendary figures of hip-hop in the 21st century, J. Cole. The overall level of fame on this list grew exponentially, but we've still got some duds holding them back. I'm going strong 5 to a light 6. 2011 was the first year with everybody doing Cyphers, and instead of having a lot of people with 1 or 2 hits, this time we either have garbage or near hip-hop icons. Diggy Simmons, flop. Lil Twist, flop. Yellow Wolf and Fred the Godson, could be worse, but still not that interesting. And then Sci-Hi gets a nod for the association with Kanye, but Now that they're out of the way, Big Crit is one of the best rappers to come out of the South in a while. I think Meek Mill is okay, but he's definitely got a following. YG isn't as good as he once was, but he was special. Mac Miller went through an incredible growth over the years. Lil B the Bass God is unique to say the least. And finally, Kendrick Lamar is my #1 pick for anybody on any of these lists. Top-notch, life-changing music with numbers to back it up. The good outweighs the bad, but it's close. 5.5 out of 10. Again, we've got a horror show of highs and lows with 2012. Iggy Azalea and Hopsin being in the same room together gives me nightmares. My most recent video will tell you exactly how I feel about Machine Gun Kelly, and then Macklemore's weird because he's really not that bad, and that Grammy win can be seen as a positive, objectively, like good job, you won a Grammy. But then you remember everything surrounding it. Kid Ink, Roscoe Dash, and Don Tripp being forgettable is almost a good thing in comparison to what I just described. French Montana's funny because he's been on huge songs, but am I really gonna sit here and say that French Montana rules? And then 2 big thumbs up for Future and Danny Brown for everything they've contributed to rap, but good lord, this year was a mess. Strong 3, I think. 2013 is probably gonna be a fan favorite for many of you. I don't have too much to say about Dizzy Wright and Angel Hayes. Kirk O'Bangs had that one annoying song, and while Trinidad James didn't have much time in the spotlight, he was fun. Moving up a few notches, Joey Badass hasn't released a whole lot since back then, but his stuff is always worth checking out. Say what you will about Logic, but he certainly earned his spot on this list, and then Ab-Soul and Action Bronson are both rappers that I really enjoy, even if they're slightly niche. Above them, I'd say ScHoolboy Q has developed into one of the leaders of West Coast hip-hop today. Chief Keef's influence on rap and music overall cannot be overstated, and the biggest of the group, Travis Scott and his explosive trap bangers. A majority of this middle ground here is above average, but not as influential as others, so I think we're looking close to a 6. Our final group for today is a rather dull 2014. August is the dude that was in an entanglement with Jada. I don't think I've ever heard someone talk about Jaron Benton. Lil Bibby found more success with his label than his actual rapping. John Connor's not even the most interesting thing about a random town in Michigan. Vic Mensa is a friend of Chance the Rapper, and Troy Ave is the loser that made fun of Capital Steez. Yikes. Kevin Gates had a few bangers, and he's an interesting personality. Dirk has been doing his thing for a while, and Rich Homie Quan is decent, even if his solo stuff is lackluster. Ty Dolla $ign is definitely more of a singer than a rapper, so that's weird, but regardless, he's one of the most valuable feature artists over the last decade. This might be a hot take, but I'd say Isaiah Rashad is second only to Kendrick in TDE. All of his major releases have been consistently great. And finally, what else is there to say about Chance the Rapper? He's the most well-known in this group, but at what cost? Still though, I'll always have love for Acid Rap and Coloring Book. This is a bizarre selection of people, and most of them aren't even really known for the quality of their rapping, so how about a light to solid 4? Let me know how you would rank these freshman classes so far, and I'll see you in the next video for part 2, 2015 to 2021. Hey, thank you for watching that video. If you want to support the channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media at RenshawHS, you can buy my merch, support my Patreon, and thank you again, I'll see you soon.